Now I guarantee you there's gonna be some people that get very grossed out by this. That's fine. Good afternoon, beautiful people. So today's episode is something, I've done a video about this before, but today I'm gonna do a different method. Today's episode is biochar. We are headed into garden season once again, and one of the most useful things in the garden is biochar. I'm gonna show you how we make the charcoal part of it. If I have enough time, I'll show you how to completely do it, but I'll walk over here. Basically, this is day 2 for me. I had to burn a massive brush pile so I can make today's video, which is burning a massive brush pile, but different. So stay with me. The goal is we need to end up with a whole bunch of charcoal. This is just like brush that is turned into charcoal. What I'm going to do with it after this is I'm either gonna lay it on some boards and run it over with the lawnmower and crush it. I've got a cement mixer. I've thought about putting it in there with some big old rocks and smashing it up further. But really what I'm looking for is super tiny particles smaller than that. Biochar is one of those things you can add to your dirt to pretty much like supercharge your dirt and get it ready for growing stuff. Something that's a really interesting read, something that's really cool to learn about if you're into this kind of stuff. Look up terra preta in the Amazon jungle. In case you didn't know, the Amazon jungle for the most part has a whole bunch of really terrible soil. Terra preta is where civilizations have been before, and they'll have 5-6 feet of black loamy soil that is just the richest of rich, and they don't really quite know how to make it. They know that there's some charcoal in it, there's some burned stuff, there's pottery, like all sorts of stuff. But whatever these people were doing in the Amazon jungles, they knew how to make rich growing soil, and they would do it for feet deep. So kind of where you start with biochar is charcoal. You supercharge it. The way I'm going to do mine is I'm going to use dried out manure, cow manure, maybe some chicken manure, make a tea, add the tea to the charcoal, let the charcoal sit and steep and just get all funky, and then that stuff will get mixed with compost and go in the garden. It's very simple. There's not a whole lot of anything special to it. I just need charcoal. Last year we cleared basically where the pigs are all the way up on top of this. This is our dugout, and this is a spot that a whole bunch of dirt got moved out of here long before we ever owned this property. I was gonna wood chip this stuff, but it's all brush. It's small stuff. A big wood chipper would just it wouldn't really chop this stuff into usable pieces. And a small wood chipper, this would literally take years. So I have found that burning it is the best option, and I realized not too long ago, hey, I could make charcoal out of it, and that's something we can use. So last time, if you guys remember, I probably did it about a year ago, I did the barrel method. I actually used that half of or quarter of a drum, that's a kerosene drum, and I put a 55-gallon drum upside down full of wood, and I showed how to make charcoal. This is a little bit different. I'm making biochar. I want small particles, just shy of dust. I mean, maybe not dust, but 1/8 inch, itty bitty pieces. This method is called, I guess, the dish method. We're gonna dig a little hole right here. This is why I had a big old brush pile right here, right where I'm standing yesterday, that I burned over there to get it out of the way. So now we can use this stuff and basically repeat the process right here. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna dig. It's just a shallow hole. It's wide. It's just, you'll see. And that's where you burn your fire. We'll get started.
I am making oatmeal jam bars today. This is a venison for dinner recipe. and it calls for using up basically all the little odds and ends jams that you have lying around in your fridge. And I have a bunch of peach jam that I made this summer. Turns out we don't actually love peach jam. I think the flavor's just not strong enough for what we want on like peanut butter and stuff. It doesn't contrast very well. So I made a bunch of jars, and now we're like slowly using them, but it's just not one of our loves. So they've been sitting back in the fridge, and now I need to find something to do with them. So when I saw this recipe, I was like, this is a great idea. I realized this is like the probably third or fourth venison for dinner recipe I have made this week. Kate over there at Venison for Dinner has been one of my go-tos for a lot of things lately. She has cows and has a wealth of knowledge, and so I go to her for when I need like help with cow stuff, and then dairy and cheese making, of course, because having a cow, they do all that too, and she is a great cheese maker. So I've followed a bunch of her cheese making recipes already, and like troubleshooting and stuff like that, and then lots of recipes. This week I have made this week I have made her fried rice, her mozzarella. I made her ice cream, the no-turn ice cream, which is like killer, and you should try it. I'll drop a link for that below. And now I'm gonna be making the oatmeal jam bars, all in the past week. So obviously, the woman knows what she's doing, and she's a great resource to have. I did want to share, she does have a YouTube channel. Most people who are familiar with her know about her Instagram, and she shares a ton of knowledge and stuff over there, but she also has a YouTube channel, which I will link below. I've picked up watching her a little bit when I have a minute to watch YouTube, usually while I'm cooking in the kitchen. She's been doing a lot of vlog style, more so than just how-tos lately, which has been fun because I always like to see how other people are doing things. They are in rural Canada, out on the west coast, I believe, and they grow a lot of their own food, and they do root cellaring and like preserving and all that stuff. So really awesome family to follow. Like I said, I will drop a link for her channel below. Go check her out. Good one to have in your back pocket when you're looking for homestead knowledge or just cool people to watch. All right, let's get to making these jam bars so that I can feed the children who are always hungry. I have a jar and a half of peach jam because we already had half a jar in there, and then another child was like, I don't see it, and they opened another jar. So now I have these to use up. It's fine. These are not gonna make the 4 to 5 cups that the recipe calls for, so I'm actually doing dry figs that I put in some boiling water, and I'm gonna stick blend those real quick to get like a jam consistency. I'll mix it with this peach jam, and if I still don't get quite up to my 4 to 5 cups, I have some applesauce in the fridge that I'll throw in there too. But these are, it's like a oatmeal flour crust, and then the jam, and then a little bit of like more crust on top, which makes like a streusel kind of thing. Hey, Buck. Was that good?
All right, here's our hole. Not very deep. Maybe, put a shovel right in the middle. Yeah, not even a foot deep. It doesn't really matter. This is just a spot to collect and shovel from. I assume a lot of this stuff will be outside of this circle, but hey, that's really all you need. Basically, that's your fire pit. Putting out the fire becomes a lot easier having a hole like that, because I'm gonna spray water in there and put the fire out once everything has kind of burned down to a point. I'd rather not be out here after dark trying to feed this fire, so I guess we're gonna get started.
Burning daylight, no, we would rather be burning wood.
Okay, well, I guess that's my cue to quit talking and start burning. All right, so you get the point. Basically, we're just gonna build a fire. We're gonna add to it and add to it and add to it until it gets basically to that point where it will consume everything. It'll have a big enough coal bed to where anything we throw on top will spontaneously combust. And once it reaches that critical mass of just eating everything, green, super dry, you name it, then we're gonna let it burn down until there's no twigs. Like right now, I mean, it's kind of hairy, it's got fuzzy edges. Once all that stuff's gone and the bigger stuff is completely consumed, this pile I'm standing on right now, this was the stuff I pulled off yesterday after I put it out. That stuff I'll add to this fire and we'll finish burning. That was all, a lot of that stuff was pretty big stuff. This is basically what we're doing. We'll just keep building and building, burning this brush pile. It's kind of a slow way to burn a brush pile. Usually you just light a match and watch. I actually want something out of it, which is charcoal. If you let it burn too long, it'll all turn to ash. Ash is usable too. Basically, you're converting all of that organic matter, the limbs, the branches, twigs, all of that stuff is turning into its pure mineral form. So ash is great for your garden, but what I'm after is the charcoal. So I'm gonna set this up on time lapse so you can see this pile get smaller and that pile get bigger. Well, I guess that pile will get smaller too. All right, let's go. All right, that's about as far as I'm gonna let it burn down. I'm going to get the hose and make a lot of steam. I'm gonna put this out. This is kind of fun, but I'm gonna have to go put my button up back on because it gets real cold down here. Yesterday when we did this pile, everybody was out here. Jackets had long since went inside. They were all out here with me and I started putting the fire out and everybody's like, it's cold. Yeah, you can tell it's February. All right, you ready to make some steam?
Yeah.
This is the fun part. Here we go. piece of wood. Yep. A couple big pieces of wood down there. So as we have sprayed and stirred and sprayed some more, we've gotten down to the bottom where the hole that we dug is. Hole, shallow cone. This is the cone method, just if you want to look up more videos on how to do this. The trick to doing this is you want to make sure it's out. Otherwise you'll come out the next day and it will have reignited the stuff that was, you know, dry, and you'll just have a pile of ash. You'll have charcoal on the stuff that was like really put out, and then other stuff it continues burning. I've done that before. Really, something I did want to say is don't be afraid to experiment. Play with your fire pit. Play around, you know, have a fire Friday with the family. Play around with making charcoal. That was how I started making charcoal, is you put your fire out, stir it, just play around. What's it gonna hurt? You afraid you're gonna have a good time? You can't mess it up. If you do, you have ash you can use in the garden. If you don't, and you have charcoal, that's the goal. So, I'm gonna finish putting this out, and then I'll grab some of yesterday's charcoal, and I'll just show you real quick how to charge it up and get it ready for the garden. All right, got a bucket. I need my manure fork that it looks like the cows knocked out of the stanchion. What are you doing, Daisy? You're standing here all expectantly. You waiting on something? Yeah, you're waiting on something? What do you need? You're ready for Biscuit to get locked in the barn, aren't you? And get your nightly hay, huh? Oh, at least he knows what it's for. Pooped on it. All right, so all of these are too fresh. We will be harvesting all of this tomorrow. It's amazing how much poop a cow produces. Over there across the driveway, which is where we're going, there's some that I never ran the chickens through before we kind of parked the cow because we ran out of grass. So I know there's some dry ones over there. I don't need much, maybe 1 or 2, but let's go over there and grab them and come back to where there's water, and I'll show you how we're gonna do this. So that's a good size one. That one's been there. It's really dry. Yeah, very dry. That's a good candidate right there.
Poop cracker.
I think a poop cracker, sure. And I think I'll take this one.
Big one.
That was pretty dry too. Really what you want with these is the fresh ones are gonna have too much ammonia in them, so you want the dry ones that are aged. Older would be better, like, you know, a couple months old, that would be great, but these will work for what I'm doing. All right, I've got a molasses tub and my cow crackers.
Cow cracker.
All right, so I'll explain this as I'm filling this up with water. You do not need manure. You don't need compost. You can add the charcoal just to your ground, and it's kind of like adding perlite or vermiculite. It will kind of aerate the ground, get it a little bit, you know, fluffier, adds a nice black color, so that looks nice. You don't have to charge it. Then you're just adding charcoal. I've heard some stuff, people have said you can tie up your nutrients in your soil. I've never had that problem. But a way you can actually turn this into a beneficial is you get manure of some kind. You can use compost. That way you know your compost is already inoculated with good bugs, good bacteria and all that. This is sitting on the ground. The grass underneath is rotting. I guarantee you if I take this and I put it in a compost pile, it will start breaking down. So I know it's got the good stuff in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slurry out of this and then add a whole bunch of charcoal to it. Usually I like to grind it up a little bit smaller, but just for this video, I'm just going to scoop, you know, the smaller, kind of close to powdery stuff and add it to this. Sounds kind of gross, but this is how you supercharge it and get it to where it's got good bugs living in it. Think of this stuff as a hotel for microorganisms. If you look at that under a microscope, it's tons of tiny, tiny little holes. It's like a hotel. Let's get this wetted up. Did I get you? I did get you, sorry.
Schmoop.
Schmoop?
It's like shmoo soup.
Poo soup?
Poo soup. smoke. Cow smoke.
Now I guarantee you there's going to be some people that get very grossed out by this. That's fine. But sure beats trying to go to the store and find that there's no fertilizer to buy. Let's start adding charcoal. Soil and mix it into the garden. It's basically like putting like a slow release fertilizer into the ground.
Make it a thick soup.
Yep. That's probably enough. That's enough to soak up all the water. Schmoop.
Smoke.
Is that what it's going to be called, a schmoop?
Probably.
There you have it. That is how I do biochar. Now I will say, everybody has their own way. I've watched so many videos on people doing this. Everybody has a slightly different way. Everybody tells you their way is the only way. You guys just saw how simple that was. An afternoon, and there's a product. Mind you, when I do it, I'm gonna crush a lot of that so it's way, way smaller particles. That way it goes farther. I guess that's really, really why. I'll mix up a slurry just like this. I'll let it sit however long I need it to. If I don't get it in the garden for another month, it's fine. Like you guys saw what it is. It's nothing special. Can you add other stuff to this? I might add comfrey tea to this, just because, you know, whatever you've got. I think what I'll do too is I'll go get a couple scoops of our compost and throw that in there too to really get it supercharged. When it comes time to use it, I don't have beds ready that I'm gonna put this in, and I kind of want it to sit a few days. So I'll just let this sit. I might haul it up there to the garden and just let it, you know, get acquainted with the soil it's going to live in. And when it comes time, I'll add, I might do 4 or 5 good scoops per bed. If I feel like it, I might put the whole thing on a bed and double dig it in. Thing about gardening, thing about all this stuff, learn as you go, make mistakes, learn something new, do something cool, try something. For us, we know we need a lot more soil fertility. We need to break up this clay. There's a lot of stuff that we've been adding that's really making a difference. Kind of comes down to a lot of compost is really where it's at, but what garden doesn't need a ton of compost? That's it. I am ready to go up and get warm because it's cold now that fire's out. Are you getting cold?
Sort of.
All right. I think that's going to do it for today. We'll catch you guys on the next one.